Hi there. We're continuing our journey through the Psalms, the Tehillim, that means the praises in Hebrew. And we're in Psalm 114, which is in the Hebrew letter numbering system. Kuf Yud Dalet. Kuf is 100, Yud is 10, Dalet is 414. And this psalm is the second in the series of 6 from 113 to 118, which tends to be sung together at festival times, particularly after Passover, as called the Great Hallel, the Big Praise. And Jesus would have sung this after Passover, after his Last Supper, before going out to the Mount of Olives. Now this, when it's sung in synagogue, when it's sung, it's a really exciting one. People get excited about this psalm. And no wonder, because it starts off by saying, B'tzet Israel b'Mitzrayim, when Israel came out of Egypt, and the house of Jacob, Bet Yaakov Mem Loez, from the place of a strange language. Judah, Yehuda, was his sanctuary, Kodsho, and Israel was the place of his rule. And so there's this excitement about the fact that God took the people out of Egypt. And this song is really talking about what God did. And it says, Hayam Ra'ah v'Yanos, the sea saw them coming and fled and ran away. So when God parts the sea, when Moses stretches out his rod, it's saying that the song says the sea saw and fled away. And then later on, Yarden Yesov, Lachor, the Jordan turned back. The Jordan stopped flowing. And of course, these are the pictures of the power of God being touched. And then there is a continuation of that into things that aren't necessarily there delineated in the scripture, but it says that the mountains, Harim Rakudu Ke'elim, that the mountains were skipping, were jumping like rams, and the Gavaot, the heights, Kivnet Son, like lambs, like the children of sheep. And so this picture of the joy of creation at the coming out of Egypt of the people of God. And then this question is asked: what made you do that, sea? What made you run away? What made you turn back, Jordan? What made you mountains skip like rams? What made you heights like jump like lambs? And then it's obviously summed up in the fact that this is what the Lord did. Before the Lord, Milifnei Adon, Holy Aretz, the world trembled, the earth trembled before the Lord, before the God of Jacob, Eloah Yaakov, the one who, and this is why, because God provided for his people in the desert. Ahofchi Hatzur Agam Mayim. He turned the rock into a pool of water. He literally turned the rock into water that was enough for those thousands and thousands and maybe even millions of people. And not only that, but he turned Halamish, he turned the flint, the really hard stone, into springs of water. This is a celebration of the great God who delivered his people, who brought them out and overcame all of the natural barriers. This is a song really very much about the natural world responding to God, bringing them out. So the provision of water, the water being driven back, the mountains being touched and melting, the rock turning into, even the flinty rock turning into a pool. This is our God who is over all things, who is able to deliver his people, which is seen in this deliverance of Egypt, of Israel from Egypt, and of course of the people of God as well from death through the death and resurrection of Jesus, Messiah. Have a good day.